12 miles from Stoke-on-Trent, hidden in the heart of the Staffordshire countryside, sits an old English estate and a theme park unlike any other. Alton Towers has been home to experiences that have been thrilling generations of guests for nearly 2 centuries. What started out as a Victorian-era garden attraction is now the UK's most visited themed entertainment venue. But nowadays, something feels off. Because while Alton Towers is still iconic, it's no longer leading the industry the way it once did. I want to explore what makes Alton Towers so great, see how it became what it is today, and look at how going forward, what needs to happen if it wants to compete with the best of the best, and become what it deserves to be, a world-class destination park.
Way to relax is to take a day trip to a place like Alton Towers near Uttoxeter in Staffordshire.
Alton Towers has a long and storied history. As far back as the 1800s, people were visiting the estate for its gardens, the architecture, and the surrounding landscape. It even featured things like lion tamers and acrobats to keep the crowds entertained. By the 1970s, some small rides and attractions had started to appear, but it was still far from a major destination. That all changed in 1980, when the first big ride at the park opened. Corkscrew, a Vekoma looping coaster and the first of its kind in the UK.
We have a go ourselves then.
Certainly.
Pull down the safety harness, and we're off.
Away we go.
The director at the time, John Broome, saw an opportunity to install a flagship attraction that would bring a wave of new guests to the park. It was a risk, but Corkscrew paid off, doubling the attendance to the park over the space of a couple of years. It marked the change from Alton Towers being an estate with a few pay-to-ride attractions to a full-scale theme park with a pay-once ticket structure. From there, the park exploded in popularity throughout the 80s and 90s. The real turning point came in 1994 with the advent of Nemesis, a B&M invert that weaves through the man-made trenches and terrain to create an intense, high-speed experience, while staying within the strict height limits imposed on the theme park. It was a creative solution to a large constraint, and it set the template for what Alton Towers will become. The park has seen dozens of attractions come and go over the years, but since 1994 the strategy has largely stayed the same. Build things that people had never seen before. And it worked. Alton Towers became known for pushing boundaries. Oblivion in 1998 was the world's first B&M dive coaster. Galactica in 2002 was the world's first B&M flying coaster. Smiler in 2013 was the world's first coaster with 14 inversions. This approach wasn't just about engineering and development, it was a marketing strategy, and an extremely effective one. It turned Alton Towers into a destination, growing the park's attendance to over 3 million by 2010, and making it one of the most popular parks in Europe. But that momentum didn't last forever. The Alton Towers we see today is largely shaped by the investments made between 1993 and 2013. In that 20-year period, the park added 7 of its 8 current major roller coasters. Since 2013, just 1. And while that one ride was a great addition in Wickerman, the slowdown in investment has become a serious problem. The likes of Phantasialand, the Wallaby Parks and other similar places in Europe have outshone Alton Towers in recent years. To be clear, I'm talking strictly about thrill rides and rides that appeal to the whole family, not just children. Alton Towers is still adding lots of attractions, but the scale and type of additions has clearly shifted. Since 2013, Alton Towers has added 3 rides not aimed at little ones. Wickerman, The Curse at Alton Manor, which is a retheme and upgrade to Duel, and Toxicator, which is a retheme and upgrade to Ripsaw. These additions are all genuinely great, but they're not enough to carry a park of this scale. And when compared to its competitors in Europe, the gap in investment becomes obvious. Phantasialand, a park which is 8 times smaller and has similar visitor numbers, has added Taron, Fly and Chiapas, all world-class award-winning attractions with detailed theming, immersive environments and outstanding ride experiences. They've also added a host of other attractions the whole family can enjoy, such as Reich and the new for 2026 D3 Mousquetaire. or The Three Musketeers to you and me. And now an example from a park with much fewer attendees per year. Wallaby Belgium has added Pulsar, Tiki Waka, Silverton, Popcorn Revenge, Conda, and Mechalodon since 2013. It's a similar story across a lot of UK parks. Anyone who isn't a child has seen little offered in terms of new attractions over the last 10 to 15 years. So maybe it's just a UK thing. But to see the 10th most visited park in Europe being outdone by a park with less than half the visitors per year, I have to wonder how they can continue like this, when the competition that's looming seems like it will blow them out of the water. While I understand that Alton Towers has a harder time developing new rides due to strict planning laws and a requirement not to build above the tree line, they have fallen way behind in the race to bigger and better attractions. Something has to change. The hope I may have had that Merlin would turn a corner with Alton Towers and start making smart decisions to benefit the overall guest experience somewhat disappeared after seeing the reaction to opening day 2026. While I wasn't present, I saw people complaining online about delayed start times on major rides, overpriced food, long queue times, and even a replacement bus service for the monorail. Perhaps the most British thing I've heard in my life. On a more recent visit near Easter, I was actually pleasantly surprised and had my expectations exceeded following the vitriol of online abuse I saw directed at the park. I went on a fairly busy day and managed to get on most rides, with a couple of re-rides towards the end of the day. The staff were great, operations were solid mostly, and the day was generally enjoyable overall, even with relatively high attendance. On exceptionally busy days though, the cracks really start to show. Operational issues and long queues have become a more and more common complaint. Again, I'd like to compare Alton Towers to some other parks across Europe to see how it's possible for them to do better. Here is a selection of wait times from parks around Europe, on days in the last year where the crowd calendar indicates the parks were 99% full. The only park that has similarly high wait times when full is Portaventura, a park with 1.3 million more visitors per year than Alton Towers. Every other park has 3 or less rides that reached over 100 minutes during the day. Alton Towers had 9. I think this comes down to a couple of things relating to capacity. Multiple rides have had their opening dates for the season pushed back, and they are not replacing old rides fast enough. The Runaway Mine Train and Rapids are not opening until May, and rides like Enterprise and The Blade, which were once good crowd managers on busy days, have been removed and replaced by, well, nothing. At least not yet. It brings up a simple problem. Why would a family, who have likely spent dozens, if not hundreds of pounds to be there during the school holidays, ever want to go back if they know that most of their day will be spent in 2-hour-long queues? Ultimately, this all points to one thing: a lack of investment from Merlin into their most visited attraction in the UK. And it really is sad to see. I hope to see the fortunes of the park change over the coming years. I don't want to be overly negative. Alton Towers is still a great place, and one that, with the right investment, can still be amazing for many years to come. But change is needed, because the clock is ticking. With the upcoming advent of Universal Studios Great Britain, expected to open in 2031, it's essential that the rest of the UK theme park industry invest cleverly over the next 5 years, improving to match the guest experiences found at parks in the rest of Europe and around the world. While I don't want to get into the details around Merlin and Alton Towers' finances, I want to make suggestions that I think could realistically be achieved before Universal Studios Great Britain opens in 2031. So, what should they do? First, fix the basics. It's no secret that while Alton Towers is beautiful, the park looks dated, tired, and even sometimes quite dirty. Some areas could really do with a refresh, and the entire place needs a good clean before they start to look at expansions and new rides. First impressions matter, and while the view of the towers as you walk in is spectacular, the entrance plaza needs a proper makeover. Then, when the park feels a bit nicer just to exist in, new rides can be on the menu. I think the biggest gap currently in Alton Towers' lineup is flat rides. They need some people eaters to help the rest of the park out on its busiest days, and to get guests out of queues and onto rides. Next, they can start to think about adding a new coaster. For kids between 1.2 and 1.4 metres, their options are limited, and that's a big missed opportunity. Project Horizon could help solve this. The rumoured indoor roller coaster could be an Intamin multi-dimension, similar to 13, a Vekoma family launch coaster, or even a Gerstlauer airtime coaster. All of these options could be exactly what the park needs. It would be nice to see a new type of theme come to this ride as well. Most major rides fall into the category of edgy or scary, so providing guests with something a bit more fantastical or light-hearted would provide some much needed variety of theming. Finally, I would look at some much needed ride replacements. Some of Alton Towers' major attractions are rapidly approaching the end of their lifespan, Rita being the most obvious example. This Intamin hydraulic launch coaster has been at the park since 2005. It was, and still is, quite popular. However, the ride has become unreliable, increasingly rough, and no longer competitive by modern standards. A replacement is due. Replacing it with a new generation Intamin launch coaster like Taron or Velocicoaster could work really well with Alton Towers' strict height limit. Something terrain focused, smooth and high capacity, making thrilling, low to the ground manoeuvres. It would also fit with Rita's current theme of launching to escape the woods, although they could just as easily move the theme in a new direction. There are a number of other options the park could choose for a Rita replacement. Maybe a new gen Vekoma launch coaster or something entirely different to what I've suggested, but the general outcome needs to be the same. A high thrill ride with high capacity and a new reason for people to come to the park. If they can achieve this, I think the park will be on its way to being back to its best, and hopefully, with some time, world class again. If some of the steps I've just described are taken over the next 5 years, I think Alton Towers can put themselves in a really good position to keep competing. Whether Merlin or another company are running it by the time Universal UK comes around, I hope that the future can bring back what makes Alton Towers such a special place for so many people. I don't think it would take a mountain of cash to get there, just some better long-term planning, considerate investments, and a return to what made Alton Towers so special in the first place. If they can get that right, there's no reason why this icon of British theme parks can't become world class again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe. I want to do more similar videos to this one in the future, about other topics related to the theme park industry, so any encouragement would be appreciated. For now though, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.